always remember that the reason that you initially started working was that there was something inside yourself that you felt that if you could manifest it in some way, you would understand more about yourself and how you coexist with the rest of society.
When did you know, like, I want to pursue this?
So yeah, my dad was quite artistic. I'd always watch him draw planes growing up.
Planes?
Yeah, he just like would sketch planes all the time. So I feel like I'm kind of living his dreams through me as well, which is really nice. My dad's a solicitor, so he's not in any creative field or anything.
He's
really into like photography. Whenever we go anywhere, he's always got like his GoPro, his big lens, like, yeah. And I feel like he's so excited about what I do, which is really nice.
Edge.
Side. Walk.
Kidneys.
You're not going to do this for 3 full hours.
This is it. Right, we're just going to...
It's just a test.
Thank you.
Now we do it for real.
So I'm Dominic, or Dom, and I go to Ravensbourne University.
I'm Lewis, and I go to Ravensbourne as well.
I'm May, I'm also at Ravensbourne.
I'm Jack, and I studied at Arts University, Bournemouth.
Oh, I'm Yusuf, and I studied at BCU.
I'm Daisy, I go to Ravensbourne.
I'm Irene, and I study at Loughborough University.
I'm Tia, I studied at London College of Communication.
I'm Simon, I studied at York College.
I'm Charlotte, and I study at London College of Communication.
Porter, I went to Middlesex Uni.
Still haven't found out, to be fair. I think it's a constant work in progress. Obviously when you start, there's so many options, and I think what a lot of industries do well, they expose you to a lot of different, because obviously within the creative industry, even within design, there's so many different jobs that you can go into. So I think it's, at least for me at the moment, it's a work in progress.
For a few years, I remember when I was back at college, I went to UCA during the pandemic. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. I had no intention of ever going to university or college at the time. I just wanted to do something with those 2 years of pretty much nothingness. And so I kind of just made stuff, and then at the end of the year, I took it to my tutors and I said, I put it in front of them and said, what's this? What have I made? I like this, and I've made this thing. And they went, that looks like kind of like branding, identity and stuff like that. Cool. That's what I like to make. And that then led me to my next step. Rather than, looking at the typical, this is what this looks like. This is what, as you were saying before, what you should feel like you should be doing, what you should be achieving. I'm just kind of doing what I enjoy, and then seeing what category that thing fills into, rather than kind of trying to fill myself into a category, if that makes sense.
For me, one of the things that I found when I was younger was twofold. One, a teacher said, looked to my work. This was when I was like 16, 17. I was very into design. I didn't know what it was. And they were like, I don't think you should do that. And I remember that, and I'm like, it was like, screw you, I'm going to do this regardless, right? But that was the complete opposite thing you should say to someone. So I guess what I'm looking for in the things that, if you're younger is to look for encouragement. Is to find those people that give you something that builds on what you believe, even if it's fragile.
Well, I did graphic design at uni, and then I started in design internships, but I basically was okay with the thinking and the research behind design, but I wasn't great at the execution. So when I started doing design internships, I was fine at artworking and stuff like that, but I found in meetings I was more speaking up about the ideas rather than how we were going to implement something. And so my boss just picked up on that and offered for me to kind of sit in some different meetings and kind of put together, basically be putting together the decks to explain the outcome rather than the outcome itself. And then that slowly developed into building the thinking before we even got to the outcome. So yeah, it was just a real slow progression of sort of someone picking up on what I was interested in, which I was very lucky that they did, and then helping push me towards projects that would be suited to my skill set. And then eventually that developed into, the title of strategist, which I didn't know when I set out. as a design intern. So it was, a real learning process.
A lot of what you're all talking about, I think, is really interesting because it's about being the best version of you versus something that's projected from the industry or elsewhere. Because if you latch onto something that someone else is doing, that'll change and you won't have any kind of texture or integrity in that. But if it's a process that you've brought out of yourself, that's basically the basis of a great career because you will be able to change and adapt based on what you like, how you want to express yourself creatively and how you want to show up in the world, as opposed to having to show up in a way that other people tell you they need to. And I think that's where a lot of imposter syndrome comes from, which is, am I missing out on something? Is someone else doing a better job than me? And I can tell you that imposter syndrome doesn't go away. I mean, I still get it now and I've been working for 30 years. I still worry, are we relevant? Are we doing good work? Is it exciting? Are people happy? And that kind of human thing of being a creator is actually the fuel for what you make. So it's okay to just embrace it and say, well, that doubt is just maybe me changing a little bit or learning something new. But I think if you can center around yourself, that's the truth, that's real. And you'll always be you, even though you change. And I think that's really important.
I don't know if this is kind of like a selfish answer though, because it's all to do with me. I had done a different degree, completely non-design related, and I was kind of in my final year and I'd met people who had studied visual communication design and I realized that that's really what I wanted to do. But yeah, so I kind of made a scary decision of like whether I go back and study something completely new or do I just continue on and finish my degree like most people would, I guess. I did finish the degree, but then I went back and did another 4 years, which was like, yeah, I had many a sleepless night before starting, like what the hell am I doing? And I think a lot of people in my life are like, what the hell is she doing? But now it's just like turned out to be the best decision I ever made, you know.
I was watching like a YouTube video, graphic design tutorials as usual, but the quote, there was like something that the person I was watching the video really resonated with me, just learning to, you know, appreciate the mess, because design itself has never been a linear thing. I would say art in general has never been linear. Everyone takes inspiration from one another, seeing it in more traditional art, and even now as well. Being able not to fit in that mold of like, you know, this is a brand designer, I'm going to fit in this, we're going to do a bento box for the style sheet, etc., doing this, and just ticking like check boxes. I feel like that can also be quite harmful as well, because, you know, like you're expected to fit into a certain mold, but then you've got like one leg that's sticking out and it's not really fitting per se. So I feel like just being able to accept the fact that this is not going to be perfect 24/7, I think that's also a pretty cool thing.
I felt like a lot of people thought a certain way, and you could see it through how they presented their work, or whether that's in their sketchbook or the actual presentations we do sometimes. And I was like, I do not think like these guys at all. Like my sketchbook would be full of just writing, like scribbling, and more, rather than sketches and visuals. So I kind of felt like I had to kind of try and be like them or think more visually. But what I realized was that I just think in a different way and allow my thinking to like help shape how I create in a way. So when I got to like my 3rd and 4th year, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it in my own process and allow my creative outcome to come from my normal process rather than thinking, okay, I have to think of it in this way, I have to, you know, try it this way and so on.
But you have to think that when you're, say for example, you're doing these amazing projects or you're in these great opportunities, you have to think to yourself that you must be doing something right. There must be something that someone else has seen or something that you enjoy about it that's like pushing you in that direction. There's something there. And it isn't just, oh, I don't deserve to be here. These other people are so talented. You know what I mean? What makes me so special? But it's like, I think it's like your unique perspective. It's what you bring to the table. That's what people see and that's what people want to hear, rather than trying to conform to like one way of doing things and trying to make everyone work exactly the same way.
Yeah. Back to the question number one.
Back to the question number one.
Yeah, I don't know. It was quite random, I would say. I didn't want to study university at all. I wanted to become an opera singer, and then, as often happens, family try to, like, you know, push you to get at least a bachelor degree. And so eventually I just enrolled into this bachelor in Milan in graphic design because some friends suggested it. I was like, okay, this is fun, this is nice. I think you might appreciate it. And I was doing like the two things at the side, so at the same time. So I was studying as an opera singer in the conservatory, and then also I was doing like graphic design, so like sort of like two bachelors. And then and then I realized that I wasn't gifted enough to become an opera singer. The power of my lungs are not enough to sustain those very long notes when you are in a theater. And so I said, okay, well, this is it. Let's put our eggs into the design basket as an intern. So, from the very bottom of the pyramid, slowly, we're climbing up. And one day they're not gonna be design directors above me to tell me what to do and not to do with my logos.
Yeah, so like getting like feedback is quite like a challenging thing, I think, sometimes, because often like I feel like with me, I necessarily didn't know how I felt about certain projects I was working on, because there's just so much going on where you're like trying to design, you don't know whether it's like hitting it, like the kind of like vibe you're trying to get for. So then getting feedback can help redirect you, but then also it can, depending how the feedback is given to you, it can just push you back a lot more as well. But I think with my tutor I had throughout my whole uni, it was just great. I felt like they properly understood me and how like I needed the feedback type of thing. So yeah, just like I think finding how the type of feedback that resonates with you can really help push your work further, and just to kind of try and focus on what's working and not what's not working. Because I feel like when you know what's working, you can then build on that. But if you're in a place where you feel like it's not working, you kind of question everything then. Yeah. But at least when you know that there's something there, you gotta keep developing it, and you've just gotta like just keep going with it and try not to get too hung up on all the details, as long as it like just look at the bigger picture basically.
I think it's easy to look at like criticism as a negative, but like you were saying, it is an opportunity, and you can't be too personal about your work, because I think sometimes the first idea you have, you'll think this is it, like this is going to be the final thing, and then you'll show it to someone and then they're like, oh, maybe not, or maybe change this, and then you can sort of, like you said, push you back. But really, it's an opportunity, it's exciting, because you can then build on it. It's only a starting point. And I always have this thing where I think, oh, I'm starting again, but you're not, you're just building on something.
It's like a giant improv lesson, like yes, and what, and more. Like you can't do that by yourself, you have to do it with other people. It's a giant collaborative thing.
Well, if you don't make it and you don't share it, you don't have anything. Mm-hmm. And it's what Yusuf was saying, which is, I used to do the same thing. I used to hide my work. So I'd do it at night when no one was looking, because I was nervous about what people would say about it. So when I went to college, I'd go to college from like about 9 till 4 in the morning and do loads of work that no one saw, because I was nervous about like sharing it. Quite rightly, probably in those days. But once I started sharing it, I suddenly realized that the creative process is completely different. It is actually about how, if someone's talking about the work and the echo chamber you're talking about, you're not rattling around in your own head then. You have a safety mechanism where other people kind of lift you up and make you feel better. And this environment is a good example of that, which is we're sharing ideas about being creative, but we all make differently, don't we? We all come from different backgrounds. But if we made something together, I think we make something really cool once we've got to know each other, and that's what it's really about. If you get to know how people think and they show their work, that's what it's doing. When you show work, you're saying, this is how I think. And then you go, oh, that's cool, that's interesting. Suddenly you build a relationship with that person, I think.
Can we lower these at home?
Yeah.
I think it's
Oh.
There you go. You're gonna have to. Otherwise,
Okay. Don't want to be doing that.
It's always been difficult to get into industry. It's always been difficult to get that first step, but I feel like we've seen an absolute culling of opportunities. And like I've seen grad schemes that I saw in first year no longer exist, and it's been 2 years. And that's quite a scary thing. And so I think for industry, just maintain that
outreached hand, because that's something that I think is really important. And, you know, it's places offering, you know, entry-level jobs, but you need 5 years experience.
Is that a real thing, though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who the hell is saying
I've been rejected from unpaid internships for not having enough experience.
You're joking?
And like,
that makes no sense.
and it makes, you know, just treat people with the respect that they deserve. And people want to work, they want to be there, they want to learn, they've applied to this for a reason. And so I think just having that baseline respect of pay people or offer other opportunities. If that's not something that's in the budget, offer a mentorship scheme, because that costs you really little. Or, you know, live briefs where people still get to interact. Like the reach out doesn't have to be an internship. That's the best option. And so people can, you know, support themselves. And it's about accessibility to industry as well, because if the only things left on the market are unpaid and then a small percentage being paid internships, you're only going to be hiring the same people over and over and over.
That's the problem. You're hiring people from a certain financial background and security.
The one that I always hate is like when you're going for a job is like, I need 5 years experience. Well, man, if you all say that, I'm not going to have any experience. I never got that either, man. Yeah, it's weird. You got to take a chance on someone sometimes.
Regarding you starting here, whether that was as an intern or as a designer now, what was your biggest fear going into it? Was it different?
A lot. So I think the transition between intern to junior wasn't necessarily a big jump. That felt really natural. It kind of almost felt like nothing changed, which treated me like a junior from the get-go, which massive help. Because, yeah, obviously I had no proper industry experience beforehand, so there's a little bit like, not a vetting process, but also like, you know, they're seeing where I'm at as much as I'm seeing where the industry's at. So it was very helpful starting as an intern, but like I said, coming with no proper industry experience, going from uni to industry, there's almost that big looming of like, can I keep up with industry expectations from the get-go? You know, like you have to start somewhere, everyone does. You do doubt yourself a lot and your ability, but I think, like I said earlier, just kind of be comfortable in your own skin and learn that you're not in it alone. It's a team effort. You're not, you know, you're not the sole reason. You're not the sole designer on a project. Like you are you have all these minds and you're sat around in an office with 50 odd people that you can just go pick their brains about something. You know, so if you feel a little bit in the deep end, you can kind of go, like, can you help me maybe? Even if they're not on your project, you know, there's something really beneficial about that.
2, 3, and 1 more.